Good evening and welcome back to the show. Today we are talking about the Secret Service being investigated by the Secret Service over deleted text messages around January 6th. Now, I say around January 6th because that's what the reports are saying. So apparently, a bunch of Secret Service agents deleted text messages around, I guess they're saying before, the day of, and maybe the day after, they haven't really specified yet, of the January 6th incident. So this is coming from a Newsweek article. Secret Service probe found that 10 of its personnel involved in the January 6th exchanged several texts around the day of the Capitol riots, but the messages were deleted. The news, an exclusive by CNN, well, take that with a grain of salt, came as a bombshell for the Secret Service, which was investigating its own staff. So now you have the Secret Service investigating the Secret Service. Kind of like police departments. When I was a police officer, if there was an issue internally with someone in the police department investigated their own thing. Seldom did the county or the state come in. So it was very odd. And I remember in one particular case, there was an officer who had an issue with a superior officer. He was a patrolman, and this was like a captain or a lieutenant, and he had an issue with them about mistreatment or disparate treatment. And he went into the meeting in which he was supposed to talk to the superior officers about his issues with that captain. And when he walks in the room, he sits down, there's like a lieutenant and a sergeant, and that captain, that very captain who he had the issue with, was sitting across the table from him, with his hands folded, saying, I'm here just to, listen to your concerns. So very, very bizarre, and that's a true story, actually. So they're investigating their own. After the Capitol riots, Department of Homeland Security, DHS Inspector General asked 24 members of the Secret Service involved to produce text records from now, quote, around that day. So it looks like they're going back a few days and they're going forward a few days. Only a single text exchange was produced for an entire period of 30 days. Now, they are looking, now here, 30 days, there was only one text message among 10 Secret Service agents. Okay, so actually, no. That they in that situation they asked 24 Secret Service members about their text messages, and they only found one. Now this probe involves 10. So now the probe is involving 10 Secret Service agents, but they're saying they asked 24 members of the Secret Service to produce text message and only a single text exchange, not a single text message, a text exchange. Okay, so we don't know how many messages were in that exchange. Now, the date range they have here is December 7th, 2020 to January 8th, 2021. 30 days, only one exchange. Very bizarre. Now, investigators have found that 10 of the Secret Service personnel involved in January 6th deleted several text messages whose content is still unknown. Now, once again, still very unclear about this. I don't know if they are talking about messages on their personal phones, if they're talking about messages on their department or agency issued phones. So there's some a little bit unclear here. So I want to make sure that we bring you more details as they come in, because there is, I'm sure, a standard for their personal text messages, and then there's their business phones or their work phones. When I was an officer, certain officers had department issued phones, and they would message back and forth. If there was a sergeant on the road and there was a serious incident that needed to call a lieutenant, they would use typically that department issued phone. Or of course, God forbid, there was a major incident, someone needed to reach out to the chief, they would use that department issued phone, or at least they were supposed to use that department issued phone and keep the personal phones out of the situation. The department issued phones are discoverable. So when outside forces come in, attorneys, whatever, county prosecutor, whatever it might be, they can subpoena the department issued phones. Now, when you talk about your personal phones, that's a little different. Of course, certain police agencies, they don't care. They will say, I want to see your personal phone and I want to see the records of it. They don't really care about your personal privacy. The agency I worked at was a prime example of that. They wanted to know what you were doing on your days off, on the weekends or on holidays or when you were on vacation that had nothing to do with police work. However, they said it was their right to know what you were doing on your days off and on your time off. Obviously, that's a little suspect. So now it may be that they are looking at getting the text messages from the personal end. Now, we're going to speak to that in a little bit. So the Secret Service has not provided any comment thus far on this matter. So the most recent revelation, this is an update, adds to a climatic week of Secret Service. January 6th committee issued a subpoena to the agency. So the January 6th committee, take that with a grain of salt, whatever that committee is doing or not doing, has issued a subpoena to the agency and the DHS later informed the agency on July 20th there was an ongoing criminal investigation. So the Secret Service was looking into the Secret Service, into the messages between Secret Service's staff being erased. So apparently they now have knowledge that messages were definitely erased, because it's kind of hard to say that in a 30-day period nobody sent or one person sent a text message. The deleted texts have become a key issue after former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson, the hearsay on hearsay White House staffer, testified to the House committee investigating the Capitol riot that former President Donald Trump attempted to grab the wheel like he was a Jason Statham of the limousine on January 6th. Following Hutchinson's testimony, Secret Service sources told various media outlets that the agents were ready to testify and refute that claim. Now, here's the one thing. Now, I don't care who you are. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I don't care. That doesn't matter. If you are a reasonable person and you have a brain in between your ears, if someone came in and testified that something happened, let me give you guys 13 years as a police officer doing many investigations working with the county, some investigations working with state police. If you are investigating a crime, right? So we got to make sure that there's a crime here. That's the first standard. I know some agencies don't care whether a crime was committed, but we have to talk about, are we investigating a crime? If so, let's declare the crime, let's declare the charges, and now let's investigate the crime. Now, while investigating this crime, someone comes in and says, hi, I have information about an incident that occurred. Okay, young lady, come on in and tell us what you know. Okay, I heard from someone who heard from someone that was there that this incident happened. And they say, okay, this is how it's supposed to go. Okay, so who did you hear from who heard from someone who was there? I heard from Joe. Okay, great. So now you go to Joe and you say, Joe, we talked to Cassidy, and Cassidy said that you spoke directly to the agents that were in the limo that day, and they told you that X, Y, and Z happened. Is that correct, Joe? And Joe would have to say, yes, that's correct, or he'd have to say, no, that's not correct. Cassidy, Miss Hutchinson misunderstood me. So either way, so let's say he does say, okay, that did happen. Yes, it did happen. Okay, so now you would say, okay, who were those agents that you spoke to that told you this incident occurred in that vehicle? Okay, great. Now we're going to go to them. And then you go to those agents, right? And then those agents say, okay, you ask them, so we talked to Cassidy, or Cassidy came to us, and she told us that Joe told her X, Y, and Z. We talked to Joe, and Joe said you told him X, Y, and Z, and you were the guys in the car. So what happened? And then you get their story because they are the authentic witnesses to the event or alleged crime. If it's a crime as the president to try to take the steering wheel of a Secret Service vehicle, we don't know. That hasn't been declared. Is it a crime? We don't know. So, and no one's saying. So now you would say, okay, you two gentlemen, you two Secret Service agents need to come in front of this committee and testify to what happened in that vehicle. As you know, folks, that is not what happened. they not only did they not bring in the Secret Service agents that were in the vehicle at that time. Why? I don't care who you are. If you were on the stand, if you were on trial, you would demand, say, hey, bring those guys in that were in the car. I want to hear from them directly. I want to look them in the eye and have them tell me some story in this courtroom or in this hall of what allegedly happened. So apparently, from everything we're told, those two Secret Service agents, or maybe more, that were in that vehicle are completely denying what happened. They're denying that what Ms. Hutchinson testified in front of the January 6th committee ever happened. I'm going to get that out right. So they haven't been brought in. And the gentleman who was the middleman, hearsay number 2, because, right, this is hearsay on top of hearsay, he wasn't even brought in to now say, well, yes, I heard from them, and I subsequently told Ms. Hutchinson. None of that happened, folks. So I don't care who you are. I don't care what aisle you stand, what side of the aisle you stand on. I don't care, whatever. As a reasonable person, you should be saying to yourself, wait a second. Wait just a second. How did this happen? Okay, so now, that aside, let's continue. According to the Secret Service, messages sent around January 6th were likely accidentally deleted during a data migration of staff phones that began on January 27th, 2021. So they're saying that the messages were deleted as they were pulling data from old phones to new phones. Because, that happens a lot in 2021. Text messages disappear because this migrating data over is very complicated. Anyway, so an accidental erasure of text message then wouldn't be the fault of the Secret Service, the agency explained in a letter sent in 2021. Secret Service specifically said that all Secret Service employees are responsible for appropriately preserving government records that may be created via text messaging. And once again, this is on their agency-issued phones, essentially pushing responsibility for any erased messages onto individual staff members, right? So it's passing the buck, right? So the agency is not going to take the fall for this. They're going to blame the agents directly, even though I don't know if it was the agents who transferred the information. Still, the agency then promised to look into its staff phones, pulling any available metadata to determine if messages were exchanged and later deleted. So you would think that the Secret Service has the ability to go to Verizon or whoever and get phone records to say, were messages sent from this phone number out, and were any messages from received to this phone number. They're the Secret Service. The local township police and the local county police and detectives, which their level of intelligence is questionable on many fronts, they're able to do that. You're telling me the Secret Service can't look at a phone and phone records and say text messages were sent, they weren't sent? Sounds a little fishy if you're saying that they can't quite tell whether any messages were sent and whether they were erased. Very, very odd. If you are sitting here believing right now that essentially one of the top governmental agencies in the country does not have the ability to call Verizon or AT&T and be like, hey, can we get a record of the text messages that were sent? Boom. At least if you can't get the content of the text messages, which I'm sure you can. We all know Homeland Security is very, very good at their job. At least you can see whether messages were sent and who they were sent to and who they were received from. One key element of the investigation of Secret Service deleted messages is timing. Members of the House committee say that they sent a request to the agency to provide any documentation relevant to the January 6th on January 16th, 2021, days before the agency conducted its data migration. So they sent the request for the messages 10 days prior to the alleged date of data migration. And the data migration happened 10 days later, and the messages were lost. The messages were lost. This happens, folks. This happens. You got to plug the phone in and, put them next to each other. Spokesperson for the Secret Service told CNN the agency found no record of the letter ever reaching them. The January 6th committee sent a letter. I think they're they're all in D.C., right? They're all probably few hundred yards from each other, all these buildings, headquarters, and the Secret Service is saying they never received a letter. Folks, this happens. DC, there's a lot of red tape, and the mail is not guaranteed. It very well could be that they never received a letter saying that they need this data, they need this information, and having not received the letter, the Secret Service just went ahead and, they had to do what they had to do. They had to update their phones and migrate the data, and sometimes these things happen. I don't know what to tell you. So that's their story, and they're sticking with it. And it's up to you whether, after hearing, these are all the facts right now. There's no opinion here. These are all the facts. So what do you think? Do you think the text messages were purposely deleted, or do you think that this was actually an accident that had horrible timing where these messages were all lost in a transfer of phone numbers from one phone to another phone, or however this data transfer is? Maybe they're transferring the information to a server. I can't believe that there's not a master server that houses all this information where they can look into, but maybe there isn't. I don't know. I have no idea. You would think that they operate on a different level than the average person like us with our cell phones, which we know are completely not secure. Even Signal is compromised. We all know that. So what is it? What do you guys think? Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. And maybe we're going to get to the bottom of this. Now it's starting to get a little interesting. And also, let me know what you think about the fact that someone was brought in on double hearsay, and the people involved in that limo incident still have not come in. They know who they are. And they still have not brought them in. So let me know what you think about that. And someone mentioned earlier in one of the posts that they also haven't brought in the Capitol police officers that are seen on video opening the gates. So let me know what you think about that. Why has this committee, the January 6th committee, not brought in, I know they have the identity of them, why have they not brought in any of those officers that are seen on the video opening the gates and letting those crazy people through? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I hate saying like and subscribe because if you like this video, you're going to like it. And if you think the channel is relevant, yeah, you're going to subscribe. But like and subscribe. The powers that be are telling me say like and subscribe, so like and subscribe. Make sure you check out 221B Tactical for all your gear and apparel needs to keep you safe and comfortable in this crazy world. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.